today. The Chicago Alderman Andre Vasquez, our guest now, represents the city's 40th ward. Welcome, sir. You heard much of that. Any thoughts of your own to add on that interaction between Chicago police and federal agents in Chicago?
Yeah, thank you for having me. By virtue of being the chair of the Committee on Immigrant and Refugee Rights, part of our job is to inspect and investigate when you see these CPD and ICE interactions, right? CPD is not allowed to block anything, but they also do not coordinate based on our Welcoming City ordinance. And so a lot of the incidents that we had seen that happened over the weekend seem to be people who are very untrained as far as the federal agents. I mean, in one instance, they threw out a tear gas canister outside of a car in the middle of the street and actually tear gas CPD who was there. So I think there's just what's being spread out as a narrative compared to what's happening on the ground. There seems to be a dissonance there that's not accurate.
I know there are lawsuits now from both the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, to try to block this guard deployment. So that came up at the White House briefing today when Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, was asked about Democrats and their concerns about troops in the cities, essentially. And here's what she said.
Look at this headline from over the weekend. At least 30 people shot during the weekend in Democrat-run Chicago. You guys are framing this like the president wants to take over the American cities with the military. The president wants to help these local leaders who have been completely ineffective in securing their own cities. There's a positive formula for that. Look at Washington, D.C. The murder rate has declined significantly.
Alderman Vasquez, what would you say to that?
BS. No one here in this city needs that kind of help. In fact, them showing up is creating more chaos and less public safety. We are seeing streets being blocked. People can't get to where they need to. Businesses are suffering because there's ICE incidents occurring everywhere and people being snatched up. This past Saturday, we had a meeting that we scheduled just to have with the community to talk about how we stand up for our neighbors. We had 700 people from the community come by, which has never happened, because none of them want the federal government intervening in this way. None of them want the National Guard. They understand that we keep us safe, and we understand that what Donald Trump is doing is disrupting and dividing communities to serve his own ends.
So what are you doing next here? Is that lawsuit you think is gonna go a long way? I mean, what's the next step, or what would you like to see the next step to be?
I mean, we'd love to see the president to actually do things to help, right? Which revolve around investment, putting money where it needs to be. Right now, they're making cuts across the board. So whether you're in a blue state, blue city, red city, you know the government is screwing you. But right now, what they're doing,
social programs and things like that, rather than this, is what you're saying, or?
Yeah, like what you need across the country. You got somebody in Kentucky right now that can't pay their bills. Their kids aren't getting a good education. They can't blame anybody who Donald Trump wants to blame. It is the federal government not meeting their needs. And when you don't have that, it's easy to point the finger at an immigrant whose fault it isn't, that you're actually not in good position. And I think that's what the federal government, what President Trump, what Stephen Miller are looking to do, to divide people, point the finger at somebody else, rather than taking responsibility and being the kind of government everybody deserves.
Alderman Vasquez from Chicago. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.